business. It's business time. Hang tight, we're gonna get into the business right here in a couple minutes. Baby, baby. It's business. It's business time. All right, we are here with week 28 of It's Business Time. This week we welcome Angela Henry of Floor Guy Supply. Angela, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you, Aaron, for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's we met in what is becoming a nice standard way to meet great people in this scene through
Yeah.
Delaware Business First networking event.
Yep.
And so we're going to get into all that here in a moment. Before we do, I just want to give Stitch House a real quick thank you for having us. Stitch House is right here on Market Street. They always have 12 beers on tap, great food, great selections, and they support the small business community, so come through and support them as well. And with that, we are rolling.
All right.
I'm excited here because we talked a little bit at the last Delaware First networking event, kind of about your journey, and you have what I view as one of the most it's a pragmatic view to ownership. You learn the business very, very well before you move into the position of owner, and that is such a cool story. I can't wait to get into it. We're going to kind of start at the beginning.
Okay.
But before we fully roll, I want to give another shout out here to Delaware Business First. They're the third Tuesdays of every month.
Yes.
Chris Bruce hosting. It's powered by King Creative and the Delaware Black Chamber of Commerce as well. Great place to kind of mingle and meet people, as you and I are proof
definitely.
And so thank you to Delaware Business First and that networking event for kind of linking us up here. And so I want to take it all the way back, right? Because right now you're the owner of owner of Floor Guy Supply.
Yes.
And your story is one of working there for a while, then eventually becoming the owner.
Yes.
And so before we get to kind of the trials and tribulations, that process of ownership, what the last 3 years, you've been owner for 3 years, is that correct?
Yes.
What the last 3 years have been about. Let's take it back to the beginning. What were you doing professionally before you met Floor Guy Supply?
So Floor Guy Supply is my company that I started and when I purchased the business. So prior to me owning the websites and the assets, it was under Floor Covering Services and Consultants.
Okay, gotcha.
And so I worked there from 2001. I came on as a temp for a 3-day assignment, and at the end of the 3 days, they were like, wow, you seem like you'd be an asset. We think we would need, your skill set. And so they brought me on to finish out. But prior to that, I was young.
Yeah.
Mind you, I was 22 when I started. That was in 2001. Prior to that, I was a student, but I also worked at Fannie Mae, born and raised in D.C.
Okay, wow.
So through my high school, I gained an internship at Fannie Mae, worked there for like 3 years and knew, wow, I really don't want to be a part of corporate America, but it was a good experience. And so then when I came to Delaware, kind of used that same skill set of being like an admin assistant.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that transition a lot. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, they are in a corporate field for a while. They learn, they get all these skills. They understand what it takes to be big, but then they also say to themselves, like, I can't do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I need to have more control. I need to be more intimately involved with what I wake up and do every day.
Definitely.
So that's really common. Like me, myself, I didn't do corporate for most of my life, and I only did corporate for 2 years, but it was enough for me to be like, whoa, like, they are running a totally different machine than a small business is.
Definitely.
But so you were doing the internship. You liked the company enough to go work for them.
Yeah, so I was, and it was not a unique time, but it was a time in my life. Like I said, I born and raised in D.C. My family's still there.
Yeah.
And I moved to Delaware.
Yeah.
and I find myself in a situation where I need to work.
Right. As it goes.
As it goes. And so, they offered me a job.
Right.
I was actually in like this period of, okay, if I don't find a job, I'm going back home.
Right.
And so I ended up taking the job, and and it kind of worked out. Not sure if I should divulge this or not, but I was actually pregnant with my son at the time.
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, a few weeks in, I'm like, just so you know, I'm going to have to take some time off at the end of the year. And they're like, oh, okay. And they were cool with that. Yeah. And then they were like, well, let us know when you're ready to come back.
Right.
And that was good because it allowed me time to kind of transition into motherhood right before I kind of went full force into the workforce.
It also showed that they care about you beyond you clocking in and doing what they want.
Yeah.
That's something that I always, try and highlight in this series is like family and the people you care about. That's what we're doing all this for.
Correct.
Right? Those should always come first in my view. And so, I love that. So they kind of set the stage where you felt like you were valued beyond.
Yes.
Got you. And it's
beyond a number.
Beyond a number, right? Beyond your ability to manage spreadsheets and make phone calls.
Yes, definitely.
Understood.
Yeah.
And then, so how long were you? And I don't want to drag you through like the whole career, but like how long were you in an employee role? And then did you go through different positions?
Yes.
Did you get a chance to learn different? Okay.
Yeah, so started off, of course, customer service, and we're e-commerce based, so I was answering the phones, packing boxes, getting the orders out, receiving inventory, loading the shelves, doing that for several years, and then we'll just kind of fast forward. So that was like 2002.
Okay.
2008, I took on sort of a like managerial role. We brought on some additional staff, and so I was able to pull away from that a little bit. And then in 2014, I moved into like this VP of operations role, and I was thinking like, man, we're so small, like why do you need a VP of operations?
Right.
But it increased my responsibility, which of course I welcomed, and so operations is really my thing.
Yeah.
And so
I get that energy from you. Ops.
Yes.
I love
I
it.
even say that. I would say that to my family, like I'm operations.
Yeah.
I'm the wheel within the wheel that like, and Reggie would always say that. My previous employer, he would always say like, she's the hub of the wheel.
Yeah.
Yep. But so being on this side of it is a little different. So 2014, VP of operations. And then 2019, we started talking a little more about me taking ownership.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit in 2014, but there was nothing like concrete,
right,
set in stone. And so,
it was there, and some of this stuff might be private. You don't have to share this, but was there a reason that they wanted to transfer ownership? Was there like were they moving, or were they?
No, I mean they were both.
They just believed.
They felt
in you?
like they would be, when we talked about it in 2014, honestly, I was coming to them, when you're working for a small business, you see the growth, but then, we're here in Delaware. Everybody works for a bank or something like that.
Right,
and it's all right, what's my potential for the next 5 to 10 years? And when I approached them with that, they said, well, in 7 years, we'd really like for you to take over the company. So I said, okay, that sounds like it could work.
Yeah.
And then
man, they really liked you. It sounds like you were crushing it.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Dedicated,
Yep.
And then they trusted me. But working in a small business, you get to see so much behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And you can, if you want to, you can pick up on a lot of things.
Right.
And so that way your role kind of expands beyond answering phones, purchasing product, doing that sort of thing. So
there's an element to, and a lot of people who have owned understand this, is when you are in ownership and you have some ownership in the project, you wake up thinking about the company.
Yeah.
You spend the whole day thinking about it. You go to sleep thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you were already kind of the expression "dress for the job you want, not the job you have."
Yeah.
Emotionally, operationally, all that stuff, you were already becoming that person anyway. So, they recognize that.
They did.
That's cool.
They did. And so, we started talking about it more seriously down the line. But, it was definitely a journey. But like you said, I was like dressed for the role. But they were allowing me to be prepared, which you wouldn't get all the time in corporate America.
Right.
You don't get to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of the struggles and the highs and lows of business when you're in corporate America. You're kind of shielded from a lot of the things.
I was going to say, a lot of that is intentional because the minute the lower folks realize that the upper folks, those are tasks they might be able to pick up, they start being like, can I pick that up? Can I make more money? They shield a lot of that C-suite stuff for that reason. So that's what I love about small business, right? Because it's like everybody has to do a little bit of everything sometimes. The company that I have most of my pedigree in is I would be doing one type of work for most of the year, but we had 2 or 3 periods of the year where we made that was like 30 to 40% of our yearly take.
Gotcha.
And all hands were on deck. We're on support. We're on phone calls. It doesn't matter what you were doing the rest of the year. For that period, everybody's on call. And the small business journey includes many, many roles.
Yes.
So what year did you take official
ownership?
Ownership.
So in 2021, I formed my business, Floor Guy Supply, to purchase the assets from Floor Covering Services. So that's how that came about.
Gotcha.
So I formed my business in May of 2021, and we really solidified our deal like late October.
Yeah.
So I was going through the process of getting an SBA loan.
Right. Okay. Wow.
So that was a process in itself that I had started like the year prior. And so we were at a point like, all right, whether the loan comes through or not, we're going through with this deal. And so
I love this. So this is one of the reasons I was really excited to have you on is that what you just described, that journey where you learn a company, you feel valued in that company, and then there's an opportunity to create your own brand, take out a loan, purchase the assets, and become the owner. I think that in this series, right, like this is a reminder there are many, many ways to get to the finish line of ownership. Obviously, there's never a real finish line when you're doing small business. But to get to that, there's many, many paths you can take. And that one, to me, feels like the most stable and honest isn't the right word, but you know what I mean? It's like you learn it inside and out before you move into that.
Yeah.
Because as much as I admire the people who are like, I'm going to build the plane as it flies.
Yeah.
I'm one of those, so I have, I admire those people. I also, when people say it took 2 years before we became profitable, it's because it probably took 2 years to build the plane.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, it all comes with different challenges. Like, who knew that, if I bought my business during COVID and
right.
and then, we had inflation coming and all these, the looming recession that no one wants to pin. And so,
that's
it's been some challenges that I hadn't planned for, but definitely every day I understand, like, I know my motivation, and I understand it's like the long game.
Yeah.
People think like, oh, you're a business owner now. Like, oh, this is like,
you won.
You won. The fight is still on.
Yeah, right. It's like, little do they know that you just now put yourself in position to race.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Got you. So as an owner for 3 years, you kind of segued into one of my favorite questions to ask, largely because we learn a lot when things go well.
Yes.
We learn a lot more when things don't go so well. So you were talking about some of those challenges.
Yes.
In that 3 years since you've taken ownership of the company, was there a moment that you said, I've made a horrible mistake, this is not the right path? Horrible is a strong word. Let me rephrase that. Was there a moment?
That's okay.
Was there a moment where you were questioning everything, and then kind of what happened, or what did you do to get through that moment and revitalize, so to speak?
So I am a woman of faith, And so there's not just one moment that you think to yourself, like, is this really what I chose to do? Like I said that to a friend recently, another fellow business owner. I said, well, remember, we chose this. And so every day you choose to get up and fight. And as I said, I'm a woman of faith, so I thank God for like every day giving me a little glimpse. Like, no, you're still on the right path. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Because there's some days you walk away and you're like, okay, that didn't quite go the way I thought it would, or it hasn't been. But you also know that, you know, anything worth having is worth fighting for. And when I started this journey, I said, no matter the final outcome, I want to learn. And man, I've been learning so much, and I can say I want to stay a student for many reasons. It's challenged me, of course, personally, and which reflects on how I lead my team. So gotcha. So every day.
Every day. No, and that's a great answer. If I could drill down just a little bit, what is like a kind of specific? We don't have to get too specific, but like, was it like you had too many operational things that you wanted to hire someone, or was it someone left you, or was it a customer? Was it, what was, like, from the business perspective, like was there something that happened that made you think, man, like this is harder than I thought it would be? Like those moments where you say, I get the glimpses. Like, what was the thing that took the glimpse out of you? The cloud came over the sun. What was that cloud, Just as to give an example to those.
I just think, like, so we're primarily e-commerce based, and systems change. Google changes their algorithm.
There you go.
And they don't give you any real notice. And people change some of their habits. And one day you could have, you could have a huge day, of sales, and then the next day you're like, is the website working? Let me go on there and see if it's actually, and you're like, okay, no, things are working, but it just isn't clicking that day. But then something will come through and you're like, oh, okay, it's all right. So there's not like a major incident or event. I think towards the end of last year, I was feeling like a little stretched, but I was going to be off for a little while. So, that anxiety of not being in the office. But I got a great team. So, and then I surround myself with good people, like coaches and mentors and that sort of thing that have been where you are, where you want and where I want to go. And so, to get encouragement from them too has really been critical during this time.
Got you. That's definitely a good note for everybody is you're only as strong as your network in a lot of ways. In this series too, I've talked to lots of different people about like how they got started, both on camera and off. And I always like to remind there is no shame in asking for help from family, from friends, from those who have been there before, from those who want to get there one day. But I want to go back here for a moment when we were talking about one of the specifics, the e-commerce world. That was a lot of the world that I was in. And when you said, Google changed, like the Facebook pixel change, like all these little kind of marketing changes. And then you said the sales thing, you're like, is the website working? And I all of a sudden was like, I'm like, it took me back. We had this 1 month of just like great sales. And at the end of the month, we're like, where's all the money? And we realized that this is in Shopify. When we were creating quotes, they were counting those as sales. So we get to the end of the month and we're planning on how to disperse all this new revenue and all this. And then we realize none of that, none, but a large portion of that, like 60 to 70% of that was in quotes that were hoping for new business.
Wow.
And for those, who don't know, you can send out 10 quotes and still make no money.
Yes.
You're lucky to get, a 20, 30% close rate on those. And so, that was an example of Shopify had just changed the system.
Okay.
We didn't realize it. They thought they were doing us a favor. And that happens a lot with Facebook. They think they're doing you a favor by changing something. And really, it's like, I feel like that. I don't want to knock any marketing right now, but I was going to.
But it makes it more challenging because as a small business, there's 24 hours in a day.
Exactly. Yeah.
A lot of times you're spending, I'm going to put it lightly, 10 to 12 hours working in your business.
Right.
And so to pull back and say, oh, this Facebook thing changed and Google's changed their algorithm. So you have to have a strong network around you who can kind of pick those things out and bring them to you. But you miss a lot.
Yeah. It was always weird when something changes, and instead of spending your time growing your business, you're spending your time on YouTube watching videos on what changed and how you and we use that term a lot, working in the business versus working on the business.
Yes.
And working on the business is not profitable this week or even this month, but it could be huge a year from now.
Yes.
And so it's really hard, I think, for small businesses and particularly owners to divide their time between we need to focus on satisfying people today versus how do we set up systems so that I'm not spending all my time doing this 6 months from now.
Yeah. And that was one of my goals, too. I wanted to make sure I had a strong in-house team so that I could go out and start to not only go out and network, but in office start to work on things that will help us along further down the line. But you do get caught up in the day-to-day.
Yeah. Well, it's so real. It's right there in front of your face. You know? It's like doing the dishes when your roof is leaking. You know?
Yes.
You still got to do the dishes, but the other one is a bigger problem.
Yeah. Definitely.
I get that. Okay, so I want to make sure. Yeah, for sure. I want to make sure we get a proper moment to talk about the actual company, the brand.
Okay.
So can you tell us? I also want to make sure these are somewhat digestible. I have so many questions I'll ask off camera about the transition from employee to owner. That's such a cool transition, and it's something really that for the few people who have gone through that, there's so many little tidbits that people can learn from there. But in the interest of time, what is it that you guys do? Like, what's your ideal customer look like? When someone calls your company and you pick up the phone and they say, hey, this is what we need. Yeah. And you say, boom, done. We got you.
Yeah. So we sell floor care solutions, I like to say. So that's from chemicals to machines, other unique products that repair certain things like scratches and gouges. And we do sell both to homeowners and residential customers, but we also sell B2B. So that would be whether it's a school or a local cleaning company or a gym, a fitness center, a nursing home facility. So we kind of run the gamut, but this year I'm really focusing on that B2B brand. We still support a lot of residential products, and we partner with the flooring manufacturers to support and sell their products. And because we used to be in technical support, I always like customers to know, you can call us with questions because we have a background in flooring, and we're not just taking orders, right? We have a knowledge of the chemistry and the types of products that belong on certain types of surfaces and things like that. So, I mean, our ideal customer could be anyone. Right. But primarily right now, we're focusing on that B2B customer. Yeah.
So like a real estate company a real estate management company that has tons of properties, they have tons of floors.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, we have some of those. We have Planet Fitnesses, Anytime Fitness, Crunch, and
because they're always messing up their floors.
Yeah, and they need to be cleaned on a regular basis. You know, you got people coming in and out of there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Working out and that sort of thing. So, but
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so somebody likes what you just said. How do they find you?
They can
What's the best way for you guys?
So our e-commerce site is 1877floorguide.com. And then you can also call us at 1-877-356-6748. We're on, you can find me on LinkedIn. We are on Facebook and Instagram. A little ghosty right now, but we'll get our marketing up on that.
No, you're not in the promotional marketing space.
Yes.
It's,
But we have been, we have a
Yeah.
presence there. So yes,
Right,
you can find
right.
us on all social media platforms.
But so you say you're e-commerce. The best step is probably check out the website first.
Yes.
Go through some of your products. But if they have questions, then they give your phone a call.
Yes, give us a call. You can also email us. We're there with live support Monday through Friday from like 9 to 4. And even on the weekend, sometimes I'll pop in and answer an email or two.
I can tell. No, I only laugh. I only laugh for a moment because I can tell you live and breathe this business for sure. And I was also chuckling a little bit. I mentioned before that I have a good friend of mine who's in the flooring world.
Yes.
And I would love to be a fly on the wall while you guys talk about like specific tile types.
Yes.
And specific,
Yes. Trust me, it's boring, but
well, it's one of those things that it's like steel girders, right? It's like it's boring, but it is so incredibly necessary.
Correct.
Everybody needs it.
Yes.
Nobody notices until
it's a
doesn't
problem.
work.
Exactly.
Yeah, until it's a problem, right? And I think that's kind of one of the fun things about small business discussions is to nerd out on the little things.
Yeah.
It could become big problems later.
Definitely.
And that's a lot of what I want this series to be too, is like as people are thinking about, they're about to buy their brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Well, look at the floor.
Yeah.
Do you want that floor to represent your business?
Yes,
it can become the biggest thing for them for that 2-week period or 3-week period. And then all of a sudden, it's something they don't have to worry about for 20 years or whatever, 10 years.
Definitely.
They got the right stuff in their closet. They got the right provider. So that's a lot of what I want this series to be is to help people understand that sometimes the boring things, basically handle it while it's still boring.
Yes.
Don't wait for it to get way too exciting.
Till it's a fire drill. You know how many calls and emails we get like, I need this out today. I'm thinking.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, repairing your tile is one cost. Having a customer slip on your tile and sue you is another cost.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to create urgency through fear, but I am. I'm allowed to. But no, for real though, it's one of those overlooked pieces of a business that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is so awesome.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining.
I appreciate you having me on. This is fun.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. You know, I had to twist her arm a little bit. You know,
just a little.
But it was worth it. It was so much fun to kind of hear that story, hear that journey. And yeah, you know, you're welcome back anytime.
I appreciate that.
And I'm sure I'll be seeing you at the Tuesdays.
Definitely,
here at Stitch House.
definitely.
Well, Angela, thank you
All right.
for joining.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it for week 28 of It's Business Time with Floor Guy Supply, Angela Henry, and we will see y'all next time.
Bye.
It's business. It's business time.